an immigration lawyer to deal with your case? Should you hire a visa advisor or an immigration advisor to deal with your case? Or should you do it completely on your own? That's the topic of today's live stream or today's video. So thank you very much, guys, for joining the live stream or for watching the video. And one thing to say in the beginning is that legal representation is not mandatory in Czech immigration, because in the Czech Republic, the immigration cases are not decided by courts, but directly by the Ministry of the Interior or sometimes the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in case of short-term visas, for example. So you, by the law, do not need a lawyer. But in some cases, it makes sense, and it's definitely recommended to use an immigration lawyer. In most cases, an experienced immigration advisor will be enough. In some cases, you can potentially represent yourself and go through the process yourself. You can potentially also use help of free lawyers from some of the non-governmental organizations that can help you for free with some situations. So in today's video, I will walk you through all this and the advantages and disadvantages of all these approaches so you can make an informed decision and see what works best for you. Yati, thank you very much for joining, and happy autumn to you as well. So let's start with hiring an immigration lawyer. An immigration lawyer must, or generally a lawyer, must be registered with the Czech Bar Association, and they must have a degree for that. They must have studied for that to get the official degree of a lawyer. There are some other requirements as well, but generally, I guess you can recognize a lawyer. They're also the only ones who can call themselves lawyers. So if you see a lawyer somewhere, you probably know that's a lawyer. Simple. And lawyers definitely should be used in some cases. I came up with like 3 cases. Generally, you can sum it up as complex cases or complicated cases or high risk cases maybe. So one example, for example, if you're in a situation that involves multiple different laws, let's say, if there are legal overlaps. So let's say you want to move your company from the US to the Czech Republic and get a residence permit based on that. Yeah, very likely hire a lawyer, or that would be a very good idea, because there is the corporate law, like incorporation of the company, that's kind of complicated on its own, but it also depends if you want the US company to be the mother company, if you want them to be related or not, what are your long-term goals here. Also the international taxes and international tax law comes into play, and then also the immigration law, and there might be other business laws involved as well. So in this case, very likely a lawyer is who you want to hire, because that's above normal people's capabilities, or normal advisors' capabilities, I would say. Second, obviously, if you are already in like a very complicated immigration situation, for example, if you want to make an appeal, if your application was denied and you want to somehow fight it, or if you're already in some like lawsuit, if you want to like challenge the ministry's decision at courts, because you can take it to courts. You can do that, but then you're basically suing the government. So not too many foreigners do that, but technically you can. And if you do, then at that point, lawyer is necessary, because they're the only ones who can represent you at courts or in front of courts. So if you're in such situation, definitely hire a lawyer. Definitely don't try to appeal your case on your own. If you want to have at least some chance of getting it, getting the decision reversed. But even if you're in some complication that you've made some mistakes and your visa is you're being deported or something, don't wait a second, go to a lawyer, hire a lawyer, let them sort it out. Maybe they will not be able to sort it out, because that's sometimes it's not possible, but they are the best equipped to do that. And yeah, like deportation, expulsion risks. Yeah, if you're already in such difficult situation, then definitely hiring a lawyer is the best thing you can do. Yeah, for standard situations, immigration lawyers also handle cases, like easier cases, let's say. But that's not, in my opinion, where they make money. So you can hire a lawyer for a standard case, not complicated as well. It's, in my opinion, not really completely necessary though. Because the second option is working with an immigration advisor or visa advisor or immigration expert, specialist, visa specialist, whatever you want to call it. Just companies that are not lawyers, but they still provide advice on immigration matters, because that's completely possible. As I explained before, legal representation is not mandatory in the Czech Republic. So for most cases, like kind of straightforward cases, standard cases, an experienced visa advisor is more than enough. But the accent here is on the experienced or a good advisor. And usually the advantage of that is that, or using an experienced advisor, is that they've been on the market for some time, so they know what the law says, but they also know how it works in the real life, because those can be often very different things, very different situations. As you know, for example, if you've been watching my channel for some time, almost in every video I talk about how the ministry does not really stick to the official deadlines when they need to make a decision. I always get these kind of questions. Hey, I applied for a student visa, it's more than 60 days now, it's 100 days, 90 days, my decision is still not made. That's a pretty standard situation. So by the law, that should not happen, but in real life that happens. And that's not the only thing, there are other things. So a good experienced advisor knows these and can work with that. Usually also advisors are more cost effective than lawyers. Because generally lawyers, they might have some packages as well, but they usually charge based on hours. So it then depends on how many hours you spent with them, and then you pay the hourly rate, which sometimes might be difficult to estimate because cases are different, and depends on your nationality, depends on some possible complications, depends on the season, the embassy where you apply, all that. So it sometimes might be difficult to estimate how much you will actually pay based on hours. Usually advisors have some kind of package for different visa options. So, but I will get back to it in a second in more details. And a good advisor should also know where their limit is. Because we all have, I've been doing this for 13 years. We've worked with 21,000 people in our database. So I have some experience, but there is still situations even now after all those years where I just don't know, or where I know that that's too much to handle for us. So they should be also, if it's a good advisor, they should be able to tell you, okay, this is too much, we cannot really handle that, or we can handle that, but that might not work out. And if they cannot handle it, ideally they should work with a lawyer to whom they can point you, and you can work with the lawyer on finishing your case or starting your case actually. Now, very important part for this, because I was saying an experienced or a good immigration advisor. So how you find out if someone is good? So let me go through a couple tips which I think are important to keep in mind when you're choosing whom you want to work with. Definitely compare options. If you're in a situation, you can do that, you have time. If someone comes recommended, someone tells you, okay, this is an amazing company, I've worked with them 5 times and they've always done a great job, okay, probably go with that. And you don't really need to compare there much because you have personal recommendation. But if you're contacting companies yourself and you will be moving to the Czech Republic yourself, then definitely compare different options. So you see what's available, what they offer, and you can make a decision which company suits you best. And I will now go through the points which you should keep in mind when you're choosing the best provider. So first, I would check if they are a real company, because basically if you go to any website of any immigration advisor, you will always see like their name. I don't want to like name anything, but you will see the name and it looks like a company. But in many cases, there might be just freelancers, one person, two people, and that's not necessarily bad, but it brings some potential disadvantages and advantages as well. So you should definitely always check if it's like a real company, like a limited liability company, or if it's just a freelancer. You can easily check it because having your business details on your website is mandatory in the Czech Republic. So you should be always able to find out the information about the company who's running the website or who's running the business on their website. Usually it's in the contacts somewhere, because you have the phone number, email, and then the official business info, or it is in the footer. And if you find the business name, go to the official business register, and you can just put the name or the business number there, and it shows you if it's a company or if it's a freelancer, shows you more details about the business as well. So I would definitely do that, and I will explain why it's important. Because from the perspective of a freelancer or a company, obviously the main advantage of freelancers is that they have lower costs, so they can potentially charge less. Because if you don't have employees, you don't have to pay employees, you don't have to have such a big office or maybe no office at all, and you meet your clients in Starbucks. That's possible as well. So you don't have really much of costs, so your prices can be lower. The downside of that is that if something happens to you, like you get sick, you get COVID and you have to be at home for 3 weeks, or you break your leg or you're in hospital, or you just want to go for vacation, who will take care of your case? You know, if there is one person or like maybe two people, that doesn't change much, because if there are two people and one of them gets sick, then the other people has twice as much work. So if you work with like one person or two people, that can result potentially in slower replies, no one basically dealing with your case for some personal reasons. Also, these companies usually like pop up, they try it for a couple of months and then they just go out of the business, because that just happens. I've seen it in the 13 years many times. And if your company goes like away in the middle of your approval process, not the best. If you choose a company which has more employees or has employees actually, then this is a bit of a risk, a bit less of a risk, because if one person gets sick, they probably have like 2 or 3 more people who can take on the cases and deal with the cases. So not necessarily bad if it's one person or two people, but keep this in mind. And then you can wait if the lower cost is so important for you that you will risk maybe mishandling your case or like the situation I explained, or not. That's up to you, and it's good if you know about that. One important thing is also how long they have been on the market, which you can also find out from the business register, because when you like search for the business number on the website, and one more thing, if they don't have the business number on their website or the business information in general, probably go somewhere else right away. Because one thing is that the company or the freelancer or whoever is already not following the laws of the Czech Republic, which is not a good start if you want to give advice to someone else. But second thing is that if you don't know what the company is officially, or who you are dealing with officially, then you will hardly make any claims later. Or if they just disappear, like where will you find them if you don't even know what company that was, because they don't have the number, the business number on the website. So if they don't have the business number anywhere on the website, just go somewhere else. If they have it, then you can check who is the owner, if it's a company or if it's just a freelancer, and it will also tell you, the business register will also tell you how long the company has been like active for, or how long the freelancer has been like having the trade license and operating. And again, not necessarily if it's a new company, that does not necessarily mean that they must be bad. But for example, let's say it's a foreigner, you see that they are from non-EU country, they got the trade license a year ago. How much experience they can have, if they're themselves foreigners and they have been doing it for a year. Again, does not necessarily mean a bad thing. I will get back to it in a second, but you should know this information, Actually, one thing we started okay, so what happens usually, or how this happens? Because I've seen this many times in the 13 years, that usually there is a foreigner or a couple with a foreigner and Czech person. And they go through their visa process on their own. So they get a visa for a partner or they get a visa for themselves. And then they see something they did not really like maybe in the whole process. And then they decide to make it better and start a business and do it in a different way, which is fine. And this is how many businesses start, that you just go through something, you don't like it, you want to make it better. That's how some big businesses started as well. That's how we started too, actually, 13 years ago. Me and Daria, we started doing it just as freelancers first, kind of not much with the business idea, but more to really help people to not have to go through what we were going through. But since then, we've grown to 15 employees, depending on the season and to the situation where we are now. So it is not necessarily bad if they are new. It's more about how directly they approach it. If you check the business register and you see that the company was established a year ago, or it's not even a company, it's a freelancer, and you ask them, okay, so how long have you been on the market? And they will start yeah, we've been doing this for 77 years and we've had millions of clients. Probably that's bullshit because you've checked it before, and in a year probably they couldn't have that many clients. So it's just more about how they approach it. If on the other hand they tell you, okay, we've just started, we don't have much experience, but we will do our best to make your case work. Okay, you can decide. It's at least honest, and you can decide if you want to work with them or not. Okay, do you prefer the honesty and the probably a lower cost than some other companies with a bit of risk that they don't know what they're doing, or you don't like the situation and you will be looking for someone more experienced? Both is fine, because we are all in different situations. You maybe don't have money to pay someone who is more expensive, and that's fine. So you will be working with someone who's cheaper and who maybe is not that experienced, but you should ideally know that, and you should calculate the risk in your head so you don't get surprised later. Because when you get your visa denied and then you find out that you were actually the first case of someone, not the best situation. Okay, one thing you can also check is how old is the domain of the company. So you check the company that's 5 years old, and then you can also check how old is the domain. And if you see that the domain is 3 months old, that probably gives you some information about that business as well. So the company was already existent 5 years ago, so it was probably doing some business, but very likely it was not this business, or maybe it was a business but under a different brand. It gives you a bit more understanding of what's going on. You can also address it directly and see what they tell you. Kind of related to that, you should always ask how many similar cases as yours. I don't want to say same cases, because no cases are exactly the same. Even if you're from the same country applying for the same type of visa, it might go a bit differently every time. But what you're trying to do with them, so how many times they have done it before and how successfully. That's important as well, because if they've done it 20 times and they have 20 denials, probably not good. And also you will see how they react. If they tell you yeah, we've had many clients, we've had so many clients, and those were good clients, That was my impression of Donald Trump, sorry. And they don't give you any exact numbers. They kind of try to avoid answering that exactly. Gives you some information as well. If on the other hand they tell you, hey, we've started, we've done 50 cases, 3 of that were denied, 47 approved, great, they're open about it, they're honest, perfect. From my perspective, that's good. Again, not having that many clients yet is not necessarily a bad thing. We also started with the first client with Move to Prague. Now we have 21,000, which has some experience or brings some experience, but we started with 1 as well. So that's not necessarily bad, but it depends on how the person or how the company approaches that information. And I would definitely check their reviews as well, because in combination with all the other things that can give you some more information, keep in mind that generally speaking, people tend to leave a review if they were not happy, because the emotion is way stronger. If you get your visa denied, probably the emotion, the anger, the whatever is stronger than if you get your visa approved, because you kind of expected that when you hired a company to help you with that. So you kind of expected that they get you approved. So it's not always like 100% like exact, but you will also see how many reviews they have. And you can read through the reviews and you will see if they have some negative reviews, if it's something that's reasonable, or if that's something just maybe not even like related to the business. I've seen some crazy things, not in this field, but in some other, like I've seen some memes and stuff that reviews that were crazy, that were not related to the business at all. So not saying that's the case in Czech immigration, but it can definitely tell you something. So I would check that as well. I would also check their social media appearance in general. If they have any social media, are they active? Do they only have like a website and nothing else? Or you see them also on YouTube, TikTok, Facebook and elsewhere, and how they behave there. That would be an important thing from my side as well. And the last thing, how clear is their pricing? Because different company obviously has a different pricing strategy. That's completely fine, and that's how it should be in business. But you sometimes might be comparing incomparable, basically. Because generally, in my opinion, if I'm hiring a service, I want to know how much I will pay in total, and I don't want to be like surprised that this was the original price quoted and then I ended up paying like twice more for some reason. So how clear is this from the pricing they provide? Is this like the final price, or there are some extras? And what are the extras? How much you expect to be those extras? If they give you clear answers to that, great. But if you have like, okay, the price is 10,000 crowns. Perfect, that's twice less than the other company I quoted, or that quoted me. But then you find out that the translations are not included, then the notarizations are not included, then the administrative fee at the Ministry of the Interior is not included, then this or that is not included, and you at the end end up paying more than the company that quoted you 20 times, 2 times, 20 times, okay, 2 times more than this one. So definitely like how structured, how clear is their pricing. And also if you ask them about that directly, okay, so how much will I pay in total, including the extras and everything, how they like either give you a clear answer, or they're trying to avoid and say that depends and we don't know exactly, tells you something as well. Okay. One thing I mentioned before, but I want to mention it as well. If you explain the case to them and they know that it's above what they can do, they should definitely refer you to someone who can help, ideally a lawyer, because if it's above someone's capabilities, like in this field, probably what you need is a lawyer, not another advisor. It can still be that someone more experienced, like if it's a new company, they've only done business visas for English teachers, and now you want a digital nomad visa, which is a bit different, then okay, they might refer you to a different advisor. But if it's an experienced advisor and they tell you, okay, this is too complicated, then probably go to a lawyer directly and don't shop around for other advisors. And last thing, doing it yourself. That's technically possible because, as I mentioned in the beginning, the Czech law doesn't require you to have a lawyer or attorney to deal with your immigration case. So you can represent yourself. And actually, the Ministry of the Interior is trying to make the processes the way that you can do it yourself. And even if it goes a bit against our business, there are situations which you can handle on your own. Depends on where you're from, what type of visa you apply for, depends on how much experience you have already with moving internationally or maybe moving to the Czech Republic specifically. Because sometimes so there are situations where you can handle the case yourself. But I would generally say that's not the first application. Because the first application, if you're applying through an embassy, or this is your first application, even in the Czech Republic, like the partnership visa or something, you basically only have like one try and not much space to for some errors, let's say. Because the first application is when the government basically checks you the most and where everything must be perfect. Then, once you already get approved for the first visa or the first residence permit, and then you are applying for extensions, then that's potentially where you can do it yourself because you've already been through the process before. And even if it's switching from a visa to a residence permit, which are different processes, you at least have an idea how it all works. You've been here for some time, so maybe you have spoken to some other people. Maybe you went to the Ministry of the Interior to change your address, so you actually know your way around. So the extensions might be fine for you. First applications, I would say maybe a student visa. That's something you can do on your own. Potentially family reunification visa, because that's relatively straightforward as well. And you already have the main applicant living in the Czech Republic. So it's in a way similar to the extension because the person have been here already. They know their way around. They know what they needed for their application. So potentially these two options might be fine and extensions. But still, for the first application, I would recommend, if not hiring someone to help you with everything, at least hire someone for a consultation. Be it an experienced advisor, be it an immigration lawyer, doesn't matter. But have someone check your documents. Have someone prepare you for the interview at the embassy. Have someone explain how the whole process works. So you don't make some stupid mistakes that could be easily avoided and then led to a denial of your visa. On the other hand, obviously the advantage is that there is no cost to any service in money. There is a cost in your time. So when you go through the immigration yourself, you have to be prepared that you will need to do a lot of research. So if you have the time, again, that goes back to students because students are usually young and they don't really know the price of their time and they have a lot of time. When you get older and you already know that some things are not really worth your time and your efforts and your stress, let's say, then you're happy to pay for someone to do it on your behalf. But as a young person, if you have a lot of time, you will need to do a lot of research. Even with ChatGPT, which can summarize everything, then you should still go to the links and read more about it, make sure that the documents look fine. Then you will spend a lot of time with that. If you're fine with that, and you've maybe been through some immigration processes before, or maybe you've lived in the Czech Republic before, back then you hired someone and now you're moving here again after a couple of years, completely fine, completely fine. Even the ministry now is getting better because they have some English speakers at branches. So if you get lucky, you might get an English speaker. If you don't get lucky, you might still get an angry officer who will not speak with you in English at all, and they will ask you to come back with a translator. That can still happen as well. But if you're lucky, you can also find someone who speaks English, which wasn't like that 10 years ago, for example. So you could do it. You also don't have anyone else to blame than yourself and the Ministry of the Interior if you get denied. So if you're also like that kind of person that, okay, I want to have everything under my own control, I don't want anyone else to like blame, that makes sense as well. And again, if it's a simple case, student visa, potentially family reunification or extensions, why not? Yeah, but again, at least a consultation before you go submit the application. So if there are some obvious mistakes, you can still fix it. We've had this now, for example, with a client. She is a client now, actually, but she's from India, and she was herself submitting application for a business visa, which is the most complicated application you can submit, the first application. So she got to us saying, hey, I have an appointment in 2 weeks. Would you check my documents? Perfect. We did that, and we actually found some, I don't want to say mistakes, but some things that would not work at the embassy, and she had enough time to fix it. Perfect. She just paid for one-time consultation, and she actually had a lot of documents prepared well. There were just some things that needed corrections, and that's better than like going to the embassy and having the application not even submitted, accepted, because you're missing one stamp on one of the documents. So yeah, one thing also I want to mention is that in Move to Prague, we offer free, approved or free guarantee. So if you work with us and we don't get your visa approved, we would return you the money, or we would submit a new application for free. I say we would because it hasn't happened yet. So yeah, but if you want to do it yourself, do it. Last thing, last option you can use are free lawyers or free legal help from the non-governmental organizations. And the obvious advantage there is that they're free and they are professionals. So you can still do, for example, the same consultation to get your documents checked just for free. So that's great. The kind of thing you need to keep in mind is that they don't work necessarily the same way as like, I don't want to say professional lawyers, but like paid lawyers, let's say, or as advisors. Very likely the lawyer will not go with you through the whole process, from like the first meeting, discussing the strategy, to collection of the documents, that you could go there every day and show them the new documents. They would check it. They would tell you if it's good or not. Very likely then they will not prepare you for the interview and go with you to the ministry or like book an appointment for you at the embassy. There might have stuff to do that, but that will very likely not be the lawyer, because since they are free and since they are for people who are in need, and that's kind of a lot of people, unfortunately, in the Czech Republic, you cannot really expect. Maybe like if there is some NGO lawyer watching me and it works differently, let me know. I will be happy to correct the video. But from my experience, they're very busy. They have a lot of people going there, so you cannot expect like from beginning to end like a full support as from a paid lawyer or from a full-time like paid advisor. Great thing though, or they are a great option for people who are like in very complicated situation and they really need a lawyer, as I explained in the beginning, but they don't have the money to pay that. That often applies to cases like asylum seekers or people who are getting abused. Because if you're getting abused at home, you don't really know where to go, you're in a foreign country. So these NGOs might be like great help. Also, very often it's related to labor law. That, for example, we know of some stories where employers keep your passport, they don't give you your passport, or they don't give you employment contract, or they don't give you the extension of it, or they don't give you termination, or they don't pay your salary for some reason, they don't pay your vacation. And in all this, if you went to a standard lawyer, that would cost you a lot of money. And then depending on your salary, of course, if your salary is like 100,000 crowns a month, probably that's worth paying a lawyer. if your salary is like 25,000 crowns a month or 30,000 crowns a month, you would probably pay more for the lawyer than you would get back from the company. So definitely in these situations, when you're in very difficult situation, or you don't feel like you're treated well and you don't know where to go, definitely that's great place to go. For other cases potentially as well, just need to count with a specific operation of NGOs. Okay, so maybe as a quick summary here, if you're applying for a simple standard visa, student, business, family, you want to have someone to guide you, but it's not like a complex situation. Any immigration advisor or experienced or good professional advisor is the way to go. If you're in some complex case, either like it's involving different types of law, or you're already in like a complicated situation, it's not like starting the process, but you're already like being deported or being denied or something, definitely a lawyer. If you're in some complicated situation and you don't have money to pay a lawyer or to pay an immigration specialist, advisor, or whatever, then the NGOs lawyers are definitely great, because they don't, of course, there are NGOs focused on foreigners only, but they don't only deal with immigration matters, but they also have the employment matters under them, all that. So you can actually get a broader help, or they could point you out somewhere. So that's definitely the way to go. And then potentially, if you already have some experience with the immigration processes, ideally in the Czech Republic, and you're applying for some simple extension or simple first application, and you don't mind taking the risk that you will be denied and that will delay your move into the Czech Republic by months or years, you can do it yourself. Yeah, you can do it yourself. That's probably the end of the story. And I've shared a link to an article where we go into more details. You also have the links where to check the business register, where to check the age of the domain, all that. You have links there, and also links to the NGOs. So if you're watching and you cannot really afford paying someone, or you just want to do it yourself, we have links to NGOs as well. And we also have plenty of articles where you can read through all the processes in details, and you can try to do it yourself on our website. So hopefully, guys, this was helpful. If it was, feel free to like share it, like it, comment, everything. And yeah, that's it. I'm reading the comment, rely on them. Not sure what that means, but thank you guys for being here today. And Gurkaran Singh, what do you mean actually rely on them? I'm not sure what it means exactly. So I'll give you 20 seconds to elaborate if you can. If not, then I'll just finish the live stream. And as you know, guys, I will be doing another live stream just for joiners only. Right now, when I finish this live stream, I will do another in the members section, and you can ask me anything there. So not only related to this topic, so lawyers, advisors, or doing it yourself, but any other topic you might have in mind. So if you're interested in that, join the channel, and I'll be available in 2 minutes in the members section. And Gurkaran didn't write anything, so see you guys Monday, Thursday, until the end. Replied, I haven't much fluent English, so please can you speak slow? Yeah, I am already finishing the live stream, but the question was, what did you mean by rely on them? Rely on who? But if you leave a comment, I will be finishing the video right now. But if you leave a comment when the video is uploaded, I will be happy to react on that or comment on that as well. So guys, thank you very much for being here today. And again, I will see you again Monday, Thursday, until the end of the world. Bye.